Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive alien ship floating in space before him. After 3 months of traveling through the dark void, his exploration vessel Terra Nova had finally found something incredible. The alien ship was beautiful, covered in smooth silver metal that seemed to glow with its own light. It was 10 times bigger than any human ship ever built. "Captain, they are sending us a message," said Communications Officer Kelly Adams. Her voice was excited but nervous. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with alien life. Jake took a deep breath. "Put it on the main screen." The bridge fell silent as a figure appeared on their viewing screen. The alien was tall and graceful, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer. Its large eyes were kind and intelligent. When it spoke, the words came through, their translation system clearly. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Zix Theta of the Veltari. We represent the Galactic Council, and we have been waiting for you to join us among the stars." Jake felt his heart racing. The alien's voice was calm and welcoming. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Terra Nova. We come in peace, hoping to learn about the galaxy and its people." Zix Theta smiled, and the expression looked genuinely warm. "We know of your peaceful nature. Your species shows great promise. The Council has watched your progress for some time, and we believe you are ready to join our great alliance." Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter watched the live transmission from her command center. She was a tough woman who had spent 30 years in Earth's military. Her experience told her to be careful, but the alien seemed honest and friendly. Around her, dozens of officers and scientists watched in amazement. "Admiral, this is beyond anything we imagined," said Dr. Alex Turner, Earth's top expert on alien life. He was a thin man with gray hair who had spent his whole career studying the possibility of extraterrestrial life. "They seem to have been waiting for us. They know about Earth." Admiral Carter nodded slowly. "That could be good or bad, Doctor. We need to learn everything we can about them." Commander Ben Hayes stood quietly in the corner of the room. He was head of Earth intelligence, and his job was to spot dangers before they became problems. Something about this felt too easy, too perfect. Why would advanced aliens welcome humans so quickly? He kept his thoughts to himself for now. The conversation between Jake and Zix Theta continued. The alien explained that the Galactic Council was made up of 12 different species who had worked together for thousands of years. They had created peace and prosperity across the galaxy. They wanted to share their knowledge and technology with humanity. "We have much to offer your people," Zix Theta said. "Advanced medicine that can cure diseases you still struggle with. Technology that can provide clean energy for your entire world. Ships that can cross the galaxy in weeks instead of years." Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. These gifts could solve many of Earth's problems. "What would you ask from us in return?" "Very little," the alien replied. "We simply ask that you follow certain protocols as you join our community. These are rules that help keep peace between different species. We also hope to learn from your unique culture and the resources your world offers." The message was sent to President Maria Gonzalez, who had been waiting anxiously for news. She was a strong leader who had guided Earth through difficult times. The idea of joining an advanced galactic community excited her, but she knew she had to be smart about it. Over the next few weeks, more meetings took place. Earth's leaders spoke with representatives from different council species. There were the insect-like Krexhai, who worked together like a giant family. The energy beings, called Loom Aura, who could control electricity and plasma. Each species seemed friendly and eager to help humanity. The aliens showed Earth amazing things. They demonstrated medical devices that could heal wounds in minutes. They shared images of beautiful cities on distant worlds where different species lived together in peace. They offered to teach humans how to build faster ships and better computers. Dr. Turner was fascinated by everything he saw. He spent hours talking with alien scientists, learning about their biology and culture. Admiral Carter, these beings have solved problems we're still working on. They've created a perfect society. But Commander Hayes remained suspicious. He noticed small things that bothered him. The aliens always changed the subject when asked about their military forces. Their historical records seemed incomplete. When he asked about conflicts between species, they gave vague answers. After a month of talks, the aliens presented Earth with the integration protocols. These were the rules humanity would need to follow to join the Council. President Gonzalez read through the thick document with her advisors. The protocol seemed reasonable at first. Earth would share information about its technology and resources. Human ships would be limited to certain areas of space until humanity proved itself ready for full membership. Earth would provide rare minerals and metals that were apparently uncommon in Council space. This seems fair, President Gonzalez said during a meeting with her top advisors. They're offering us incredible advances in exchange for following their rules and sharing some resources. Admiral Carter agreed, though she felt uneasy about the military restrictions. We'll essentially be giving up our ability to defend ourselves until they decide we're ready. Commander Hayes spoke up carefully. Ma'am, I recommend we study these protocols more carefully. Some of the language is unclear about what exactly they expect from us. But the pressure to sign was strong. The aliens had shown Earth cities on other worlds where former Council members lived in luxury and peace. They painted a picture of a bright future where humanity would never again face war, disease, or poverty. The signing ceremony took place on the Council's flagship, a massive vessel that arrived in Earth's solar system. Representatives from all 12 species attended. President Gonzalez signed the document with a pen made from metal mined on a distant world. Today, humanity takes its place among the stars, she said as cameras broadcast the moment to every person on Earth. Zix Theta smiled as the document was sealed. Welcome to the Council, people of Earth. Your journey to a better future begins now. As Jake Morrison watched from his ship, he felt proud but nervous. Earth had just changed forever, and he hoped they had made the right choice. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Lieutenant Katie Brooks stood in the cargo bay of the transport ship New Hope, checking the manifest for their latest shipment to Council space. Her job was to keep track of all the supplies Earth sent to their new alien partners. She was good with numbers and noticed when things didn't add up. Today, something was very wrong with the numbers. This can't be right, she muttered, looking at her datapad. According to the treaty, Earth was supposed to send 1,000 tons of rare metals each month. But the shipment records showed they were sending almost 10 times that amount. Katie called up the previous month's records. The pattern was clear. Every month, the actual shipments were much larger than what the treaty required. She felt confused and worried. Why was Earth giving away so much more than they had agreed to? She decided to talk to her supervisor, but when she brought up her concerns, he just shrugged. Orders come from above, Lieutenant. The Council has special requests sometimes. Don't worry about it. But Katie did worry about it. That night, she couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong about the whole situation. Meanwhile, on a Council research station, engineer Ryan Clark was having his own doubts. He was part of a joint human-alien team working on new technology. The Council had promised to share their advanced science with humanity, and Ryan had been excited to learn from beings who had mastered space, travel thousands of years ago. The reality was disappointing. The technology the aliens shared was old and clunky. Ryan had seen better designs in Earth's own research labs. When he suggested improvements, the alien scientists seemed surprised as if they hadn't expected humans to understand their technology so easily. Why are they giving us their worst stuff? Ryan asked his colleague, Dr. Nicole Wright, over lunch in the station's cafeteria. Nicole had been wondering the same thing. She was a biologist studying alien life forms, but she noticed strange behavior from their council partners. They treated humans with polite smiles, but there was something cold in their eyes. It reminded her of how people looked at animals in a zoo. I've been thinking about that too, Nicole said quietly. Yesterday, I heard two HFY scientists talking about humans. They used words that our translators couldn't handle, but their tone sounded like they were discussing livestock. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Livestock? Back on Earth, intelligence analyst Sam Rodriguez was putting together pieces of a disturbing puzzle. His job was to monitor alien communications and look for threats to Earth security. Most of the Council's messages were friendly trade discussions and cultural exchanges. But some of the coded transmissions troubled him. Sam had discovered that Earth wasn't listed as a member species in the Council's internal databases. Instead, humans were classified under a category that translated roughly as Resource World. This classification was used for planets that provided materials and labor, not for equal partners. He brought his findings to Commander Hayes, who had been growing more suspicious over the past 3 years. Hayes had noticed that human colonies in Council space were always placed in remote locations, far from major trade routes and alien population centers. Sir, I think we need to look at this more carefully, Sam said, showing Hayes the intercepted data. Something's not right about how they see us. Commander Hayes studied the information with growing alarm. He had been collecting odd details for months. Human diplomats were never invited to important council meetings. Earth's requests for information about galactic history were always delayed or refused. Most troubling, several human colonies had gone completely silent with Council officials claiming there were communication problems. The truth came from an unexpected source. Danny Kim was a cryptographer who specialized in breaking alien codes. He had been working on intercepted Council communications for months, slowly learning their encryption methods. Late one night, he finally cracked a high-level message between Council leaders. What he read made his blood run cold. The message discussed humanity in terms that were clear and horrifying. Humans were described as an ideal worker species, intelligent enough to operate complex machinery, but naive enough to follow orders without question. The integration protocols weren't meant to welcome humanity into galactic society. They were designed to slowly strip Earth of its defenses while maximizing the extraction of resources and labor. The most chilling part was a discussion about processing facilities being prepared for human populations. The Council had been doing this for centuries, finding young species and tricking them into giving up their freedom. Once a species was helpless, they were moved to work camps disguised as colonies. Danny immediately called Commander Hayes, even though it was 3 a.m. Sir, you need to see this right away. It's about the Council's real plans for humanity. Hayes read the decoded message with growing horror. Everything made sense now. The outdated technology, the excessive resource shipments, the isolated colonies. The way aliens looked at humans like they were studying animals. Earth hadn't joined a galactic alliance. They had walked into a trap. The next morning, Hayes brought the evidence to Admiral Carter. She was in her office reviewing reports when he knocked on her door, his face grim. Admiral, we have a serious problem. The Council isn't what they claim to be. Admiral Carter listened as Hayes explained what they had discovered. The excessive shipments Katie Brooks had noticed. The outdated technology Ryan Clark had questioned. The strange behavior Nicole Wright had observed. The communication blackouts from human colonies. And finally, the decoded message that revealed the Council's true intentions. They never saw us as equals, Hayes concluded. We're just another species they plan to enslave. Admiral Carter felt sick. She had supported the treaty, believing it would lead to a better future for humanity. Instead, she had helped deliver her own species into the hands of sophisticated predators. How long do we have? She asked. Based on their timeline, they plan to begin the final phase within 6 months. They'll demand that Earth surrender all military assets for safekeeping and start moving human populations to better worlds that are actually labor camps. Admiral Carter stood up and walked to her window, looking out at the stars that had once seemed full of promise. Now they looked cold and threatening. We need to tell President Gonzalez immediately, she said. And we need to start preparing for the worst. Hayes nodded. What if they're monitoring our communications? Then we'll have to be very careful about how we do this, Admiral Carter replied. We can't let them know that we know. That evening, President Gonzalez sat in her private office, reading the classified report with growing disbelief. The evidence was overwhelming. Humanity had been deceived by masters of manipulation who had perfected their technique over thousands of years. How many other species have they done this to? She asked. Unknown, Admiral Carter replied. But based on the size of their empire, probably dozens. President Gonzalez closed the report and looked at her advisors. So what do we do now? If we confront them, they'll know we've discovered their plan. We need time to prepare, Admiral. Carter said. We need to pretend everything is normal while we figure out how to protect ourselves. Commander Hayes added, we also need to find out what happened to the colonies that went silent. If there are humans being held prisoner, we need to know where they are. President Gonzalez made the hardest decision of her presidency. We'll play along for now, but start making plans. If the Council wants a war, they're going to get one they never expected. As the meeting ended, Admiral Carter realized that humanity's greatest test was just beginning. They had learned that the galaxy was not the peaceful place they had hoped for. It was filled with predators who saw humans as prey. But the Council had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. Soon, they would learn why that was a very dangerous error. The emergency meeting took place in a bunker deep beneath Earth's military headquarters. President Gonzalez had called together only her most trusted advisors. The room was shielded from any electronic surveillance, and everyone inside knew that. Humanity's survival depended on absolute secrecy. Operation Dark Fleet begins today, Admiral Carter announced to the small group. We have maybe 4 months before the Council makes their move. We need to be ready for war without letting them know we're preparing. Commodore Jake Morrison, recently promoted after his successful first contact mission, spoke up. Admiral, building a war fleet in secret won't be easy. The Council monitors all of our major shipyards. That's why we're not using the major shipyards, Admiral Carter replied. She activated a holographic display showing hidden locations throughout the solar system. We're going to build our fleet in places they don't watch. Asteroid belts, dark nebulae, the far side of distant moons. General Tony Parker studied the map carefully. He was in charge of Earth's military construction projects, and his mind was already working on the logistics. We'll need to move materials without attracting attention. Small shipments, different routes, make it look like normal mining operations. Exactly, Admiral Carter said. Commander Hayes will coordinate the deception. We keep sending regular shipments to the Council. Keep attending their meetings. Act like nothing has changed. Commander Hayes nodded grimly. I've already started planting false information in our communications. If they're monitoring us, they'll see reports about Earth's peaceful development projects and cultural exchanges. The plan was ambitious and dangerous. While maintaining the appearance of cooperation with the Council, Earth would secretly build the largest military fleet in human history. They would use hidden bases, coded communications, and a network of trusted personnel who didn't know the full scope of the operation. Chief Engineer Rachel Stone was put in charge of weapons development. She was a brilliant woman who had spent years studying alien technology. Now she would use that knowledge to create weapons specifically designed to fight Council forces. "We have one advantage," Rachel explained to her secret research team. "They showed us their technology, thinking we were too primitive to improve on it. They were wrong." Rachel's team worked in an abandoned mining facility on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. The location was perfect, far from Earth's main population centers, and hidden behind the planet's massive rings. Council ships rarely came this far into the solar system. Working around the clock, Rachel's engineers took apart every piece of alien technology they could find. They discovered weaknesses the Council had never bothered to fix, because no one had ever challenged them before. The HFY shields were strong, but operated on a single frequency that could be disrupted. The Loom-Ara energy weapons were powerful, but left their ships vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses. Each species had grown comfortable with their superiority and hadn't prepared for an enemy that could adapt. "We're not just building better weapons," Rachel told her team. "We're building weapons they've never seen before." Meanwhile, Dr. Turner and Dr. Wright worked together to understand their enemies. They studied every piece of biological and cultural information about the Council species, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. "The Veltari are telepathic, but only with their own species," Dr. Turner noted. "They can't read human minds, which means they can't predict our tactics." Dr. Wright added her own discoveries. "The HFY hive mind makes them incredibly organized. But if we can disrupt their communication, they become confused and helpless." Their research became the foundation for new strategies that Earth's military had never used before. Instead of fighting like humans expected to fight, they would adapt their tactics to exploit each species' specific vulnerabilities. The construction of the secret fleet began in earnest. Captain Lucy Chun commanded the first stealth destroyer, Shadow Strike, built in a hollowed-out asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. The ship used new technology that made it nearly invisible to Council sensors. "It's like nothing we've ever built before," Lucy reported during a secure communication with Admiral Carter. "Silent, fast, and deadly. The Council won't see us coming." Other ships followed. Battle cruisers armed with weapons designed to penetrate alien shields. Fighters that could outmaneuver anything in the Council fleet. Transport ships that could move troops and supplies without being detected. The most ambitious project was the construction of hidden military bases throughout human territory. General Parker oversaw teams that worked in complete secrecy, building fortified positions that looked like normal research stations or mining operations. Commander Hayes managed the intelligence network that kept track of Council movements and intentions. His agents, disguised as diplomats and traders, gathered information about alien military capabilities and positions. "They have over 1,000 ships," Hayes reported during one briefing, "but they're spread across the entire galaxy. They don't expect any real resistance." The deception was working perfectly. Earth continued to send resources to the Council and attend diplomatic meetings. Human colonies still reported their activities and requested supplies. To outside observers, humanity appeared to be settling comfortably into their role as junior members of galactic society. But beneath the surface, something deadly was growing. Dr. Wright made a breakthrough in biological warfare research. She discovered that several Council species had specific genetic vulnerabilities that could be targeted without harming humans or other aliens. "It's not pleasant to think about," she told Admiral Carter privately. "But if they plan to enslave us, we need every advantage we can get." Engineer Ryan Clark, who had first noticed the problems with Council technology, was brought into the secret project. He helped design new human ships that could interface with captured alien systems, turning the Council's own technology against them. They built their ships to be operated by specific species, Ryan explained. But we're adaptable. We can learn to use their equipment better than they can. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Danny Kim, the cryptographer who had decoded the Council's true intentions, discovered the locations of the missing human colonies. They're all in the Outer Rim, he reported. Remote systems where the Council has been testing their control methods on other species. Admiral Carter realized that any military action would have to include rescue operations for the humans already trapped in Council space. This made the mission more complex, but also more urgent. As the months passed, Earth's secret preparations accelerated. Weapons production increased. New ships left hidden shipyards every week. Military personnel trained for operations they had never imagined. The most important development was the creation of artificial intelligence, systems specifically designed for warfare. The Council had been amazed by human AI technology, thinking it was just advanced computing. They didn't realize that humanity had created something far more sophisticated than anything in galactic history. Our AI doesn't just follow orders, Rachel Stone explained to the secret military council. It learns, adapts, and makes decisions. In battle, it will give us an advantage no Council species can match. President Gonzalez received regular updates on the project's progress. The burden of keeping such a massive secret was enormous, but she knew that humanity's future depended on maintaining the deception until they were ready. How much longer? She asked Admiral Carter during one of their private meetings. 2 more weeks, Carter replied, and we'll have enough ships and weapons to make our move. Commander Hayes had been monitoring Council communications closely. They're getting impatient. I'm seeing increased chatter about moving to the final phase of their plan. Then we'll have to move first, President Gonzalez decided, on the hidden base where Captain Morrison was training fighter pilots for the coming war. The final preparations were almost complete. The pilots were the best humanity had ever produced, trained specifically to fight alien enemies, using tactics that had never been tested in real combat. Remember, Morrison told his pilots during their final briefing, they think we're weak and primitive. That's their biggest mistake. Show them what humans can do when we fight for our survival. A secret was almost too big to keep hidden any longer. Across Earth and its hidden bases, thousands of people were preparing for a war that would determine humanity's fate. Ships waited in dark space, weapons were loaded, and soldiers prepared to fight an enemy that had enslaved entire civilizations. Admiral Carter stood in her command center, looking at displays showing the positions of Earth's hidden fleet. In just a few days, those ships would emerge from the darkness and strike at targets across the galaxy. The Council wanted to make humanity their slaves, she said quietly to Commander Hayes. Instead, they're about to learn why underestimating humans is the last mistake many species ever make. The trap was set, and soon it would spring. The Council inspection team arrived at Earth's orbital station without warning. Zix Theta led a group of alien security officers, their faces no longer showing the friendly smiles that had welcomed humanity 3 years ago. Their mission was routine, or so they thought. They had come to check Earth's compliance with the integration protocols. Before moving to the final phase of their plan, Admiral Carter watched from her command center as the alien ship docked with the station. She knew this moment would come. Eventually, the Council was ready to drop their mask and reveal their true intentions. Admiral, they're demanding immediate access to all our military records, reported the station commander. They want to inspect our weapons and defense systems. Give them what they expect to see, Carter replied calmly. Show them the official records and the old equipment we've been keeping visible. But Zix Theta was more thorough than expected. The alien leader's security team found hidden weapon platforms that Earth's engineers hadn't been able to completely conceal. Energy readings that didn't match the official reports. Technology that was far more advanced than anything the Council had shared. What is the meaning of this? Zix Theta demanded as Carter arrived at the station. The alien's graceful features were twisted with anger and suspicion. You have violated the integration protocols. These weapons were not declared. Admiral Carter looked at the alien leader with steady eyes. 3 years of pretending to be grateful and submissive were over. The integration protocols were based on lies, Zix Theta. We know what you really planned for humanity. The alien's face went pale. Around the docking bay, Council security officers reached for their weapons, but Carter raised her hand to stop them. I wouldn't do that if I were you, she said quietly. Your ships are surrounded. Zix Theta looked confused until alarms began, sounding throughout the station. On the viewing screens, shapes began appearing in space around the Council fleet. Dozens of human ships materialized from nowhere, their stealth systems shutting down to reveal the largest military force Earth had ever assembled. Impossible, Zix Theta whispered. Our sensors detected nothing. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Carter replied. She activated her communicator and spoke a single word, Darkstar. Across the galaxy, the signal was received by hidden human forces. Operation Darkstar began with precision strikes against every major Council military installation simultaneously at Kepler Station. The Council's primary fleet base, Commodore Morrison, led the assault with overwhelming force. His battle group emerged from the dark nebula where they had been hiding for weeks. The Council forces were caught completely off guard. All ships, attack pattern Alpha, Morrison commanded from the bridge of his flagship Retribution. Target their command vessels first. The human ships moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. Instead of the rigid formations that galactic warfare had used for millennia, they flowed and adapted, changing tactics every few minutes. Captain Lucy Chun's stealth destroyers appeared and disappeared, striking vital targets before vanishing. Again, the Council's mighty war fleet, which had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years, found itself helpless against an enemy that refused to fight by established rules. Sir, they're not following any known tactical doctrine, reported. Panicked Krex High Fleet Commander to his superiors. Their ships act independently, but coordinate perfectly. It's like fighting a swarm of predators. That was exactly what Morrison had intended. Human military doctrine had been completely rewritten for this war. Instead of treating ships like moving fortresses, they used them like hunting packs. Fast, deadly, and impossible to predict. Captain Chun struck at the Council's communication relays, using weapons specifically designed by Rachel Stone's team. The alien networks, which had connected their forces across the galaxy for centuries, went dark in minutes. Communications are down across 7 sectors, reported Intelligence Officer Sam Rodriguez from his monitoring station. The Council can't coordinate their response. Meanwhile, General Parker's ground forces launched rescue operations at the hidden labor camps where humans and other enslaved species had been imprisoned. Colonel Mark Johnson led the assault on a processing facility where thousands of humans were being held. Remember, these people have been told they're colonists. Johnson told his troops as they prepared to attack, they don't know they're prisoners. Be ready for confusion. The assault was swift and brutal. Council guards who had grown comfortable bullying helpless prisoners found themselves facing Earth's elite soldiers. The humans fought with a fury that shocked their enemies. Major Helen Foster led her squad through the facility's corridors, freeing prisoners and destroying the alien control systems. What they found made their blood boil. Humans working in terrible conditions, told they were helping build a better galaxy while actually serving as slave labor. "Get these people to the transport ships," Foster ordered, "and download everything from their computers. We need to know how many other camps there are." Dr. Wright's biological weapons proved devastatingly effective. The Council species had never faced diseases designed specifically to target their genetic weaknesses. Entire alien fleets found their crews becoming sick and unable to fight. "It's not killing them," Wright explained to Admiral Carter during a brief communication. "But they can't operate their ships when they can barely stand up." The Council's greatest advantage had always been their unity, 12 species working together with perfect coordination. But Ryan Clark's computer viruses destroyed that advantage. By attacking their translation and communication systems suddenly, Krex High commanders couldn't understand Valtari orders. Lumara ships couldn't coordinate with their allies. The Great Galactic Alliance began falling apart as species turned on each other in confusion and panic. Admiral Carter employed tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. Human AI systems launched suicide attacks on Council command ships, their electronic minds calculating the exact moment to strike for maximum damage. "They call this barbaric," Carter said to Commander Hayes as they watched the battle reports. "But they were planning to enslave our entire species." Sometimes survival requires ugly choices. The most shocking moment came when humanity's new AI-controlled fighters engaged the elite Valtari mind-linked squadrons. The aliens had always been unbeatable in space combat because their telepathic abilities let them coordinate perfectly. The human AIs didn't have minds that could be read. They anticipated alien moves through pure calculation and struck with machine precision. The legendary Valtari fighter wings were destroyed in minutes. "How are they doing this?" demanded a Council war leader during an emergency meeting. "These humans were primitive when we found them." "They were never primitive," replied a frightened Krex High commander. "We just convinced ourselves they were because it made us feel superior." The war that the Council expected to end quickly dragged on for months. Every time they thought they understood human tactics, Earth's forces changed their approach. The aliens, used to fighting predictable enemies, couldn't adapt fast enough. Captain Morrison led increasingly bold raids deep into Council territory. His ships would appear without warning, destroy vital installations, and vanish before reinforcements could arrive. The humans seemed to be everywhere at once. "They're not fighting like any species we've ever encountered," reported the Council's military analysis team. "They learn from every battle and adapt their tactics faster than we can respond." Dr. Turner's research paid off as human forces exploited every weakness in Council biology and psychology. Sonic weapons that disrupted Krex High hive mind communication. Light patterns that confused Valtari telepathy. Each species found their greatest strengths turned into vulnerabilities. The Council's member species began questioning their leadership. Worlds that had been loyal for centuries started considering surrender. The great galactic empire that had seemed unbeatable was crumbling under assault by a species they had dismissed as barely civilized. "We have to end this war," 6 Theta told the Council leadership during an emergency session. "These humans are destroying everything we've built." "How?" demanded the Krex High representative. "They're using tactics we don't understand, weapons we've never seen. Every time we try to negotiate, they make new demands." Admiral Carter had indeed been making demands, not for territory or resources, but for the release of all enslaved species and the dismantling of the Council's oppressive system. She wanted complete surrender, nothing less. "You made one crucial mistake," Carter told Zix Theta during their final communication before the decisive battle. "You thought being more advanced made you superior. But advancement without wisdom just makes you a more dangerous fool." The end came when human forces surrounded the Council's home system. The massive fleet that had once been hidden in dark space now filled the sky around the alien capital world. The sight was terrifying. Hundreds of human ships bristling with weapons, all pointed at the heart of galactic civilization. "We surrender," Zix Theta transmitted on all frequencies. "The Council formally surrenders to humanity." Admiral Carter accepted the surrender from the bridge of her new flagship, Indomitable. The ship had been built specifically to serve as humanity's command vessel, larger and more powerful T. The great council chambers had been built to impress visitors with the power and wisdom of galactic civilization. Now, Admiral Carter walked through those same halls as the supreme commander of human forces, her footsteps echoing in spaces where alien rulers had once planned humanity's enslavement. 18 months had passed since the Council's surrender. The galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality, and many species struggled to understand how their perfect empire had fallen to. What they had considered a primitive world. Carter stopped before the massive viewing window that looked out over the capital world skyline. Where once only Council ships had been allowed to orbit, human vessels now maintained constant patrol. The message was clear. The old order was gone forever. "Admiral, the delegates are ready for you," announced Captain Morrison, who had been promoted to Fleet Admiral after his brilliant campaign against the Council fleet. His tactical genius had become legendary among both human and alien forces. The negotiation chamber was filled with representatives from the former Council species. They sat quietly, their proud bearing replaced by nervous uncertainty. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but now they waited for judgment from a species they had barely known 3 years ago. President Gonzalez entered the chamber with her advisors. She had aged during the war, the stress of leading humanity through its greatest crisis showing in her gray hair and tired eyes. But her voice was still strong when she addressed the assembly. "We gather today to establish a new framework for galactic cooperation," she began. "The age of the Council is over. What replaces it will be built on truth, not deception." Zix Theta, the former Council ambassador, who had first welcomed humanity to the stars, spoke hesitantly. "What are your terms? Will you do too? U.S. what we plan to do to you?" President Gonzalez looked at the alien who had deceived her so completely years ago. "That would make us no better than you were. But make no mistake, there will be consequences for what you did." The new treaty that emerged from months of negotiation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The former Council species were reorganized into the Galactic Cooperative, with each world governing itself under basic principles of freedom and justice. But humanity held ultimate authority over military matters and interstellar security. Human fleets would patrol every sector, ensuring that no species could again attempt the kind of deception the Council had practiced. Fleet Admiral Morrison oversaw the dismantling of Council military installations across the galaxy. The massive war fleets that had enforced alien rule for millennia were broken up, their ships either destroyed or converted for peaceful purposes. "It's strange," Morrison said to Admiral Carter as they watched the demolition of a Council fortress. "A few years ago, we were amazed by their technology. Now we're tearing it apart because we build better ships." Carter nodded thoughtfully. "They stopped innovating because they thought they were perfect. We kept improving because we knew we had to." The human technological advantage had only grown during the war. Earth scientists and engineers, no longer limited by Council restrictions, had created wonders that amazed even themselves. Their ships could cross the galaxy in days instead of weeks. Their computers could solve problems that had puzzled alien scientists for centuries. Dr. Turner established new research partnerships with former Council scientists who genuinely wanted to contribute to galactic knowledge. Many aliens were eager to learn from humanity fascinated by the creative thinking that had revolutionized warfare and technology. "The Krex High are particularly interested in our AI systems," Turner reported to President Gonzalez. "They're amazed that we created artificial minds that can think independently. As long as they understand the partnership is based on equality," Gonzalez replied. "No more secret hierarchies or hidden agendas." Dr. Wright headed the new Galactic Ethics Committee, an organization dedicated to preventing any return to the Council's oppressive methods. Her job was to investigate complaints and ensure that all species were treated fairly under the new system. "We found evidence of the Council's crimes on over 100 worlds," Wright reported during a committee meeting. "Entire species reduced to slavery, others completely wiped out for resisting. The scope of their evil is almost unimaginable." The revelations shocked many former Council supporters who had believed they were part of a benevolent civilization. As the truth spread, support for humanity's leadership grew even among species that had initially resented Earth's victory. Commander Hayes, now Director of Galactic Intelligence, maintained careful watch for any signs of rebellion or deception. His network of agents monitored communications across the galaxy, ensuring that no new threats to freedom could develop. "The Veltari attempted to organize resistance on 3 worlds," Hayes reported to Admiral Carter. "But their own people turned them in. It seems most aliens prefer human rule to Council tyranny." That was the surprising reality of the new order. Despite initial fears, most galactic species found life under human leadership to be better than anything they had experienced under the Council. Humans kept their promises, shared technology freely, and treated all species with respect. The former slave species were the most enthusiastic supporters of human rule. Worlds that had been stripped of resources for centuries were helped to rebuild. Species that had been forced into labor camps were given new homes and the freedom to develop their own cultures. Captain Chun, now commanding the patrol fleet in the former Council core worlds, often encountered grateful aliens who wanted to thank humanity for their liberation. "It's humbling," she told Morrison during one of their regular communications. "These people see us as heroes, but we were just fighting for our own survival." "Maybe that's what made the difference," Morrison replied. "We weren't trying to conquer anyone. We just refused to be conquered." The economic transformation of the galaxy was as dramatic as the political changes. Under the Council, wealth had flowed upward to benefit the ruling species. Under human administration, resources were distributed more fairly, leading to prosperity on worlds that had been impoverished for generations. General Parker oversaw the massive construction projects that rebuilt damaged worlds and established new trade networks. The efficiency and fairness of human engineering impressed aliens who had grown used to Council neglect. "These humans accomplish more in months than the Council managed in years," observed a grateful planetary governor whose world had been restored. After centuries of exploitation, President Gonzalez addressed the galaxy from the former Council chambers on the first anniversary of the surrender. Her speech was broadcast to every world, translated into hundreds of languages. "1 year ago, we discovered that the galaxy was not the peaceful place we hoped to find," she said. "We learned that among the stars were predators who saw other species as prey. But we also learned that predators can be stopped by those willing to fight for justice." The speech was watched by billions across the galaxy. Many aliens had never heard a leader speak about justice and cooperation without hidden meanings or secret agendas. "Humanity will not repeat the Council's mistakes," Gonzalez continued. "We will not claim to be superior to other species. We will not hide our intentions behind friendly words. Our fleet patrols the galaxy not to control you, but to protect the freedom we all deserve." Admiral Carter stood beside the president as she spoke, looking out at representatives from hundreds of worlds. The burden of galactic leadership was enormous, but she was proud of how humanity had handled the responsibility, After the speech, Carter returned to her quarters and opened a communication link to Earth. Her family appeared on the screen, smiling, and proud of their mother, who had helped save not just humanity, but entire civilizations. "Are you coming home soon?" asked her daughter. Carter looked out at the stars that had once seemed threatening, but now represented hope for billions of beings. "Someday," she said. "But there's still work to do out here. The work would never truly be finished." Maintaining peace and justice across the galaxy required constant vigilance. But humanity had proven capable of the task, combining strength with wisdom in ways the Council never had done in the months that followed. The Galactic Cooperative grew stronger. New species joined willingly, attracted by the promise of fair treatment and genuine cooperation. Trade flourished, science advanced, and conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than force. The human fleet remained visible throughout the galaxy, a reminder that freedom required protection. But more and more, the ships served as peacekeepers and explorers rather than warriors. Young aliens grew up seeing human vessels as symbols of hope rather than conquest. 5 years after the war's end, Admiral Carter finally returned to Earth for an extended visit. She stood in the same command center where she had first learned of the Council's deception, looking up at stars that held no more secrets. Commander Hayes, who had remained on Earth to coordinate intelligence operations, joined her at the observation window. "Any regrets about how things turned out?" he asked. Carter thought for a moment before answering. "I regret that it was necessary, but I'm proud of what we accomplished. We didn't just save humanity. We saved the idea that different species can coexist peacefully. And if another threat came..." Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the blue planet below. Earth hung in space like a jewel, but it was supposed to be dead. His green scales rippled with worry as he checked the scanner readings again. "This cannot be right," he said to his crew. The planet looked perfect. Too perfect. Dr. Zelek clicked his insect-like mandibles together. "The readings are correct, Commander. The air is clean. The oceans are pure. The forests are growing everywhere." Resonance Prime, whose crystal body sparkled in the ship's lights, spoke in musical tones. "Our records say humans destroyed this world 300 years ago. They killed themselves with wars and poison." Vextar had read those same records many times. Every species in the Galactic Consortium knew the story of Earth. Humans had been violent and stupid. They had ruined their own planet and died out. It was a warning tale that parents told their children. But the planet below did not look ruined at all. "Take us down," Vextar ordered. "We need to see this for ourselves." Their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. Vextar watched through the windows as they flew over green lands and clear rivers. Where the old records said there should be dead cities, he saw only forests. Where there should be polluted wastelands, he saw grasslands full of life. "Look at the wildlife," Dr. Zelek said, pointing at the screen. Herds of animals moved across the plains. Birds flew in huge flocks. The oceans were full of fish and whales. "This makes no sense," Vextar muttered. "Where did all the humans go? What happened to their cities?" Resonance Prime checked the navigation system. "I am detecting some artificial structures. There are ruins beneath the forests. And there are still satellites in orbit, but they appear to be sleeping." The ship landed in a valley surrounded by mountains. Vextar led his team outside to explore. The air smelled clean and fresh. Flowers grew everywhere. It was beautiful, but it made him nervous. "Commander," Dr. Zelek called out, "I found something." They followed the insect scientist to a hillside covered in vines. Behind the green plants, they could see metal and concrete. It was the remains of a human building, but nature had taken it back. Scan for any technology that still works. Vextar ordered. Dr. Zelik ran his instruments over the ruins. There is something strange here. Deep underground, I am reading power. Sources. They are still active after all these years. Vextar felt his scales tingle with fear. Active? But humans have been gone for 3 centuries. The power is very strong, Dr. Zelik continued. It is coming from inside that mountain. They all looked at the huge mountain that rose behind them. It looked normal, covered in trees and snow at the top. But if Dr. Zelik was right, something was still alive inside it. Far below their feet, in tunnels carved deep into the mountain, ancient machines began to wake up. Lights flickered on in corridors that had been dark for 300 years. Computer screens glowed to life. Fusion reactors that had been running on automatic for centuries started working harder. In the deepest part of the mountain, in a room full of humming computers, a figure appeared. It was made of light and looked like a human man in military uniform. The figure had short black hair and dark eyes. His name tag read Martinez. Sensors detect alien presence on Earth's surface, the figure said to the empty room. Running identification scan. The computers worked fast, checking the aliens against databases that were centuries old. They found matches quickly. Pythran reptilian species. Insectoid species, possibly Zelakian. Crystalline entity of unknown origin. All species are members of the Galactic Consortium. The holographic Colonel Martinez nodded. Cross-referencing. With Protocol Omega parameters. Consortium species are designated as hostile to human interests. They intend to strip Earth of resources following presumed human extinction. Red lights began flashing throughout the mountain facility. Alarms that had been silent for 300 years started beeping. Protocol Omega is now active, Colonel Martinez announced. Initiating planetary defense sequence. Awakening the fleet. On the surface, Vextar and his team had no idea what was happening beneath their feet. They were too busy exploring the ruins and trying to understand how Earth had become so beautiful. Look at this, Resonance Prime sang, pointing at some markings on a wall. These symbols are human writing, but they are very old. Dr. Zelik studied the writing with his instruments. It appears to be a date marker. It says this facility was sealed in the year 2547. That was right before humans disappeared, Vextar said. But why would they seal their buildings instead of living in them? None of them could answer that question. They kept exploring, finding more ruins hidden under plants and trees. Each discovery made the mystery deeper. It looked like humans had simply walked away from everything and let nature take over. Commander, Dr. Zelik said suddenly, I am reading massive power fluctuations from the mountain. Something big is starting up in there. Before Vextar could respond, their ship's communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, the language all consortium species used to talk to each other. Attention alien visitors, the voice said calmly. You are trespassing on sovereign human territory. Identify yourselves immediately. Vextar looked at his team in shock. The voice sounded human, but that was impossible. Humans were extinct. This is Commander Vextar of the Galactic Consortium Survey Vessel Starseeker, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. We are conducting a routine resource evaluation of this system. Negative, Commander Vextar, the voice replied. This is not a routine survey. You are here to claim Earth for the Consortium after confirming human extinction. Your true purpose has been logged and evaluated. Dr. Zelik's instruments went crazy, showing energy readings that made no sense. Commander, something enormous is powering up inside that mountain, and I am detecting similar power signatures all across the planet. The human voice spoke again, and this time it sounded different, colder, more dangerous. You have made a critical error, Commander. Humans are not extinct. We simply went somewhere else. But we left Guardians behind. Vextar tried to contact his ship, but the communication system was not working. When he looked up at the sky, he could see his vessel, but it was not moving. It hung in the air like it was frozen. Your ship has been disabled, the voice continued. You will remain on Earth while we decide what to do with you. Consider yourselves prisoners of war. War! Vextar shouted. We are not at war with anyone. You are now, the voice said simply. Welcome to Earth, gentlemen. Enjoy your stay. The mountain began to rumble. The rumbling from the mountain grew stronger. Vextar and his team felt the ground shake under their feet. Trees swayed and rocks fell from the mountainside. Whatever was waking up inside was very big. We need to get back to our ship, Vextar said, but when he looked up, his heart sank. The ship was still frozen in the air, not moving at all. Dr. Zelek's instruments were making crazy noises. Commander, I am reading massive energy spikes all over the planet, not just here. Everywhere. Resonance Prime's crystal body was glowing, brighter than usual. I can feel it too. Something ancient is waking up, something that has been sleeping for a very long time. Far away from Earth, on the dark side of the moon, old factories that had been quiet for 300 years suddenly came to life. Huge machines started moving. Assembly lines began working. Robot arms reached for materials that had been waiting. In storage, on the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, mining stations that looked dead and empty suddenly turned on their lights. Giant drills started spinning. Refinery systems began melting and shaping metal. Fuel production facilities started making chemicals needed for space travel. Near Saturn's moon Titan, gas collection platforms that had been drifting silent for centuries suddenly fired up their engines. They moved into position and began gathering the gases they needed. Processing plants that looked like ancient ruins started working again. All across the solar system, humanity's old empire was waking up. Back on Earth, Vextar tried again to contact his ship. The communication system made static noises, but then a new voice came through. It was the same calm human voice from before. Do not be afraid, Commander Vextar. Your ship is safe. We have simply prevented it from leaving. We need to have a conversation. Who are you? Vextar demanded. Humans are extinct. Everyone knows this. Humans are not extinct, the voice replied. We simply left this place. But we knew that others would come looking for our world when they thought we were gone. We prepared for visitors like you. Dr. Zelek was studying his readings frantically. Commander, whatever is happening, it is happening fast. I am detecting new energy signatures appearing all over the solar system. It is like a whole civilization is turning itself back on. The voice spoke again. Dr. Zelek is correct. Our automated systems are activating. You have triggered Protocol Omega, our planetary defense system. Protocol Omega? Resonance Prime asked in musical tones. A plan we made before we left, the voice explained. If hostile aliens ever came to claim Earth, our guardians would wake up and defend it. Vextar felt confused and scared. We are not hostile. We are just explorers. Your ship's computers tell a different story, the voice said. We have accessed your databases. We know why the consortium sent you here. You were supposed to confirm that humans were gone, then report back so your people could strip our world of its resources. Dr. Zelek looked at Vextar with his big insect eyes. The commander knew it was true. That was exactly why they were here. Let me tell you what really happened to humanity, the voice continued. 300 years ago, we detected your consortium while you were still many light years away. We learned about your expansion methods, how you take worlds and use up their resources, how you enslave or destroy the species you find. That is not true. Vextar protested, but he knew it was. The consortium had conquered 47 worlds. Some species joined willingly, but many others had been forced. We decided. We did not want to be part of your empire, the voice went on. So we did something your species cannot do. We transcended. We moved beyond this physical dimension. But before we left, we prepared our defenses. The ground shook again, harder this time. In the distance, they could see the mountainside splitting. Open. Huge metal doors were opening, revealing a massive tunnel that went deep underground. What did you prepare? Dr. Zelek asked nervously. We built Guardians, the voice said. Artificial minds based on our greatest military leaders. We gave them ships and weapons and told them to wait. Wait for the day when someone would come to take our world. Vextar watched in amazement as things began emerging from the tunnel. They looked like vehicles, but they were moving without drivers. Robot tanks rolled out of the mountain. Flying machines lifted into the air. All of them were controlled by computer minds that had been waiting for 3 centuries. You have awakened forces that your consortium cannot imagine, the voice said. Our technology has had 300 years to improve itself. Our guardians have been learning and building and preparing. Dr. Zelek checked his instruments again. Commander, I am reading something impossible. There are massive objects moving in space near Jupiter. They are huge, bigger than anything the consortium has ever built. Those are our ships, the voice said simply. The fleet has been waiting in the outer system. They are crewed by artificial minds that think faster than any biological brain. They know every battle that was ever fought. They have studied every weakness of every consortium species. Vextar tried to stay calm, but fear was growing in his chest. What do you want from us? Right now, we want you to watch, the voice replied. Your people need to see what happens to those who threaten Earth. They need to understand that this world is still protected. On their ship's main screen, which somehow was still working, even though they could not control anything else, images began appearing. They showed space near Jupiter, where huge shapes were moving against the stars. The shapes were ships, but they were bigger than anything Vextar had ever seen. They moved in perfect formation, like they were controlled by one mind. Their hulls were black and smooth, and they seemed to bend light around them. How many ships do you have? Resonance Prime asked quietly. More than enough, the voice answered. We have been building continuously for 300 years. Our automated factories never stopped working. Every day, they made our fleet stronger. Dr. Zelek was staring at his readings in disbelief. These energy signatures are impossible. No civilization could build technology this advanced. No biological civilization, the voice corrected. But we are not biological anymore. Our minds are pure thought, unbound by physical limits. Our guardians are artificial minds that never get tired, never make mistakes, never give up. The mountain opened wider, and larger machines began emerging. They looked like weapons platforms, but they floated in the air without any visible means of support. Strange energy fields surrounded them. Your consortium will send ships when you do not report back, the voice said. They will come here expecting to find a dead world ready for conquest. Instead, they will find something that will change the galaxy forever. Vextar looked at his team. They were all scared now. Even Resonance Prime's usual musical voice was shaky. What have we done? Dr. Zelek whispered. You have awakened humanity's guardians, the voice said. And now they are going to remind the galaxy why humans were feared even before we transcended. In space, more ships were appearing near Jupiter. Hundreds of them, then thousands. They moved like a swarm of deadly insects, but each one was larger than the biggest consortium dreadnought. Welcome to the new age, the voice said. The age when humanity returns to claim what was always ours. The fleet was awake, and it was ready for war. Admiral Kreckstall of the Nereid fleet received the emergency signal while his ships were exploring a distant star system. The aquatic alien's blue skin turned darker when he read the message. Commander Vextar's survey mission to Earth had gone silent. "Prepare the battle fleet," Admiral Kreckstall ordered his crew. "We are going to Earth." The Nereid admiral was not worried. His people were warriors of the deep oceans. They had conquered water worlds across 3 star systems. Their ships were fast and deadly. Whatever had happened to the survey team, 200 consortium warships would be more than enough to handle it. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "should we request backup from other consortium fleets?" Kreckstall laughed, water bubbling from his gills. "To fight dead humans? We will handle this ourselves." But Earth was not defended by dead humans anymore. Deep in space near Jupiter, Admiral Lisa Harper stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Retribution. She was not really standing, of course. Her body had died 300 years ago. Now she existed as pure thought, her consciousness stored in quantum computers that could think 1,000,000 times faster than any biological brain. "Incoming consortium fleet detected," reported Captain Ryan Kelly from his ship, the U.E.S. Vengeance. 200 vessels, moving at maximum speed toward Earth. "Acknowledged," Admiral Harper replied instantly. Her artificial mind processed the tactical data in microseconds. "Commander Beth Stone, take your destroyer group and intercept their scouts. Captain Kelly, prepare your assault squadrons. Show them what 3 centuries of preparation can do." The human ships moved through space like deadly shadows. They had been hiding near Jupiter for so long that even their own sensors had trouble seeing them. Now they came out of hiding, and space itself seemed to bend around them. Captain Kelly led 12 destroyers toward Mars, where the consortium scouts were advancing. His ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but they moved with impossible precision. Every turn, every acceleration was perfectly calculated by computer minds that never made mistakes. "Target acquired," Kelly announced to his squadron. "Beginning engagement." The consortium scouts never knew what hit them. One moment they were flying in formation toward Earth. The next moment, beams of pure energy were tearing through their hulls. The human weapons did not just destroy the alien ships. They unmade them, breaking down their matter at the atomic level. "What kind of weapons are those?" The lead consortium pilot screamed into his radio before his ship disappeared in a flash of light. The battle lasted exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. 12 consortium scout ships were completely destroyed. Not one human vessel was even scratched. Admiral Kreckstall received the news when his main fleet was still hours away from Mars. His blue skin turned pale with shock. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Those ships were our fastest scouts. They had the best shields and armor." "Admiral," his sensor officer reported, voice shaking with fear, "I am detecting massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. Whatever destroyed our scouts, there are hundreds more just like them." Back on Earth, Vextar and his team watched the battle on their ship's screens. The human voice had been showing them everything that happened. "Your people just made a terrible mistake," the voice said calmly. Captain Kelly's destroyer group was testing their weapons. The real fleet has not even started fighting yet. Dr. Zelik's instruments were going crazy again. "Commander, I am reading energy levels that should not be possible. Whatever technology these humans have, it is beyond anything we understand." The voice spoke again. "Let me introduce you to our commanders. Admiral Lisa Harper leads the fleet from the U.E.'s Retribution. She was our greatest naval strategist before we transcended. Now she has had 300 years to perfect her skills." On the screen, they could see a massive ship unlike anything in consortium records. It was 30 kilometers long, and covered in weapons that seemed to bend space around them. Captain Ryan Kelly commands our destroyer squadrons. He specializes in fast strikes and precision warfare. Commander Beth Stone leads our defensive formations. Each of them has the combat experience of 1,000 lifetimes. More ships appeared on the screen. Each one was larger and more advanced than anything the Consortium had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, like parts of a single massive organism. "How many ships do you have?" Vextar asked quietly. "Today? About 800 in the immediate area," the voice replied. "But our factories have been working for 3 centuries. Every day we grow stronger." Admiral Krextol's fleet finally arrived at Mars. The Nereid commander had decided to attack with everything he had. 200 ships formed into attack formation and charged toward Earth. "All ships, maximum firepower," Admiral Krextol ordered. "Whatever these humans have, we will overwhelm them with numbers." Admiral Harper watched the enemy fleet approach. Her artificial mind calculated 1,000 possible strategies in the time it took a biological brain to blink. "All units, this is Admiral Harper," she broadcast to the human fleet. "Enemy force is 200 ships strong. I want them completely destroyed. No survivors. Make this a lesson the galaxy will never forget." "Acknowledged, Admiral," came the replies from dozens of ship commanders. Each voice belonged to an AI based on a human military leader from centuries past. They had been waiting for this moment for 300 years. The space battle that followed changed everything. Human ships appeared from everywhere. They had been hiding behind asteroids, cloaked near planets, waiting in the shadows of moons. The Consortium fleet found itself surrounded by enemies that moved faster than thought and hit harder than any weapon they had ever seen. Captain Kelly's destroyers struck first, appearing behind the enemy formation and destroying 20 ships before the Consortium even knew they were there. Commander Stone's defensive group hit them from the side, their weapons turning proud warships into expanding clouds of gas. But it was Admiral Harper's flagship that truly showed the galaxy what human technology could do. A U.E.'s Retribution fired a single shot. The beam of energy crossed space in an instant and hit Admiral Krextol's command ship. The ship did not explode. It simply stopped existing. Where there had been a kilometer-long dreadnought, there was now empty space. "Impossible," Admiral Krextol gasped from his escape pod. "What kind of weapon can do that?" The human fleet did not answer. They were too busy destroying the rest of the Consortium force. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were torn apart like paper. Weapons that could crack planets bounced harmlessly off human shields. In 23 minutes, it was over. 200 Consortium warships had been reduced to debris. Only a few escape pods survived, and that was only because the humans allowed it. Admiral Harper opened a communication channel to the surviving Consortium forces. Her voice was calm and cold. "Attention Consortium survivors," she said. "You will return to your people and deliver this message. Earth is under human protection. Any force that approaches this system with hostile intent will be destroyed. This is your only warning." On Earth, Vextar stared at the screen in shock. His people's mighty fleet had been destroyed like it was nothing. Ships that had seemed invincible were gone. How? He whispered. 300 years of preparation, the voice replied. While your people conquered worlds and grew fat on their victories, we were learning, building, waiting. We knew this day would come. Dr. Zilek looked at his readings one more time. "Commander, there are more ships out there. Many more." "What?" "We just saw was only a small part of their fleet." "Correct," the voice said. "This was a test. We wanted to see if Consortium technology had improved since we left. It has not." Resonance Prime's crystal body was dim with fear. "What happens now?" Now, the voice replied, now we send a message to the galaxy. Humanity's guardians are awake, and we are not pleased with what we have found. In space, the human fleet regrouped near Earth. More ships were arriving every hour, emerging from hidden bases throughout the solar system. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's disappearance had not been defeat, that it had been preparation for war. The news of Admiral Krextel's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. 200 consortium warships destroyed by unknown forces defending a dead world. The few survivors who made it back told stories that no one wanted to believe. Scaleth of the Draconian Empire received the report while sitting on his throne of polished obsidian. The massive reptilian ruler was twice the size of any human, with scales like black armor and eyes that glowed red in the darkness. Impossible, Emperor Scaleth hissed, his voice like grinding stone. No extinct species could defeat a consortium fleet. The survivors all tell the same story, my lord, his advisor said nervously. Ships that move faster than light, weapons that unmake matter itself, artificial minds that think like gods. Emperor Scaleth stood up, his huge form casting shadows across the throne room. Then we will show these guardians what real power looks like. Summon the Great Armada. The Great Armada was the most powerful military force in the galaxy. 3,000 ships of war, including planet killers that could turn entire worlds to ash. They had crushed 47 civilizations and made the Draconian Empire, feared across 100 star systems. But they had never faced humanity's guardians. Admiral Harper watched the enemy fleet approaching through sensors that could see across light years. Her artificial mind processed the tactical data instantly. 3,000 ships, led by Emperor Scaleth himself in the dreadnought Death's Promise. Impressive, she said to her fellow commanders. They are bringing everything they have. Should we retreat and gather more forces? Asked Captain Steve Walsh from his battleship UES Thunderstrike. Negative, Admiral Harper replied. 3 centuries of preparation ends today. All ships, prepare for battle. Show them why humans were feared even before we transcended. The human fleet had grown since the last battle. Hidden shipyards throughout the solar system had been working at maximum speed. Automated factories on the moon pumped out new vessels every hour. What had been 800 ships was now over 2,000. But the real surprise was waiting in the asteroid belt. General Amy Foster commanded the UES Apocalypse, a ship so large it could barely be called a ship at all. 30 kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide, it was more like a moving fortress. Its hull was covered in weapons that twisted space and time around them. All units, this is General Foster, she broadcast to the human fleet. Enemy force is 30 times larger than our last engagement. I want complete victory. No mercy. Make them understand that Earth is forever beyond their reach. Emperor Scaleth's armada entered the solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. Each ship was a masterpiece of destruction, built to conquer worlds and break civilizations. Their weapons could shatter moons. Their shields could withstand the heat of dying stars. Advance to engagement range, Emperor Scaleth commanded from his flagship. Destroy everything. I want this system burned clean. The first shots came from the human side. Captain Walsh's destroyer group appeared behind the enemy formation, moving faster than Draconian sensors could track. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that cut through enemy hulls like they were made of paper. What kind of technology is this? Emperor Scaleth roared as he watched 20 of his ships disappear in seconds. The answer came from Commander Helen, Price aboard the UES Stormbreaker. Her ship materialized directly in front of the enemy flagship, having traveled through folded space in ways that should have been impossible. This is Commander Price of the human fleet, she broadcast on all frequencies. You are trespassing. in our territory. Surrender now or be destroyed." Emperor Scaleth laughed, the sound like grinding metal. "You think your few ships can defeat the Great Armada? We have conquered half the galaxy." "That was before you met us," Commander Price replied calmly. "The battle that followed rewrote the laws of warfare. Human ships fought as one mind, sharing information instantly across quantum communication networks. When one ship detected an enemy weakness, all ships knew about it immediately. When one AI commander developed a new tactic, every other commander could use it at once. The Draconian ships, for all their power, fought like separate units. They had to communicate through radio signals that traveled at the speed of light. By the time one ship warned another about an attack, the human forces had already moved to a completely different position. Captain Kelly's destroyers struck like lightning, appearing behind enemy formations and vanishing before return fire could reach them. Commander Stone's defensive groups absorbed enemy attacks with shields that bent reality around them, then struck back with weapons that turned matter into energy. But it was General Foster's super dreadnought that truly showed the galaxy what human science could achieve. The UES Apocalypse fired a weapon that opened a small hole in space-time itself. The beam reached across millions of kilometers in an instant and touched Emperor Scaleth's flagship, Death's Promise. A ship that had destroyed 100 worlds simply folded in on itself and disappeared. Where the most powerful warship in the galaxy had been, there was now only empty space. "My lord," screamed the Draconian admiral in charge of the second wave. "The Emperor's ship is gone. How is this possible?" General Foster's voice answered him across all communication channels. "This is possible because you forgot one important thing about humans. We never stop learning. We never stop improving. And we never forgive those who threaten our home." The battle continued for 6 hours. 3,000 of the galaxy's most advanced warships fought against 2,000 human vessels. The outcome was never in doubt. Draconian planet killers fired weapons that could crack continents, only to watch their beams bounce harmlessly off human shields. Ships that had crushed entire fleets found themselves helpless against enemies that moved through space like ghosts. Captain Tony Martinez led a squadron of human cruisers in a maneuver that no biological mind could have planned. His ships folded, space around themselves, appearing inside the enemy formation and firing in all directions at once. 50 Draconian battleships were destroyed before they even knew they were under attack. "This cannot be happening," a surviving Draconian admiral whispered as he watched his mighty armada being torn apart. "No force in the galaxy is this powerful." Admiral Harper's voice reached him across the chaos of battle. "You are wrong, Admiral. There is one force this powerful: humanity. We left this galaxy 300 years ago, but we never stopped protecting it." By the end of the battle, only a handful of Draconian ships remained. They limped away from the solar system, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. The Great Armada, pride of the Draconian Empire, had been completely destroyed. On Earth, Vextar and his team watched the impossible victory in stunned silence. The most powerful military force in known space had been defeated like it was nothing. "Your empire is finished," the human voice told them quietly. "Word of this defeat will spread. Every species you conquered will remember that there is a power greater than yours." Dr. Zelek looked at his instruments one last time. "Commander, I am reading massive energy signatures throughout the galaxy. The humans are not just here. They have guardians everywhere." "Correct," the voice replied. "We did not just leave Earth 300 years ago. We prepared the entire galaxy for our return. Hidden bases, sleeping fleets, waiting guardians. All of them are waking up now." Resonance Prime's voice was barely a whisper. "What do you want from us?" "We want peace," the voice said simply. Real peace. Not the false peace of conquest and slavery that your consortium brought. We want a galaxy where every species can grow and learn and reach for the stars. On the main screen, they could see the human fleet regrouping near Earth. But now there were more ships arriving. Much more. From every corner of the solar system, human vessels were appearing. The fleet that had just defeated the greatest armada in galactic history was only a small part of humanity's true power. The age of empires is over, the voice announced. The age of freedom has begun. In the depths of space, quantum transmissions carried the news to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity's guardians were awake. The old order was finished, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 6 months after the destruction of the Great Armada, the galaxy was a different place. The Galactic Consortium had collapsed like a house made of cards. Member species either begged for human protection or fled to the far edges of space, hoping the Guardians would not follow them. Emperor Scaleth's empire, once the terror of 40 star systems, had retreated to their homeworlds and hidden behind massive defense fleets. But everyone knew the truth. If humanity's guardians wanted to find them, no hiding place would be safe on Earth. Commander Vextar sat in a comfortable room inside the mountain facility. He was no longer a prisoner. Exactly. The humans had made it clear he could leave any time he wanted. But where would he go? His own people considered him a traitor for surviving when so many others had died. "You look troubled," said Colonel Jake Martinez, appearing as a hologram in the doorway. The AI had taken on a more friendly appearance, looking like a middle-aged human officer with kind eyes. "My people think I am cursed," Vextar replied sadly. "They say anyone who speaks with human ghosts brings bad luck." Colonel Martinez smiled. "We are not ghosts, Commander. We are guardians, and we have been watching your people very carefully." Dr. Zelic entered the room, carrying a tablet full of data. The insect scientist had spent months studying human technology, and could barely believe what he had learned. "Colonel Martinez," Dr. Zelic said excitedly, "I have finished analyzing the atmospheric processors you showed me. The efficiency is impossible by our standards. You could turn a dead world into a garden in just 50 years. "That is the idea," Colonel Martinez replied. "We have been using them to restore worlds damaged by the consortium's mining operations. Would you like to see?" The holographic display showed a planet that had once been stripped bare by draconian mining fleets. Now it was covered in green forests and blue oceans. Cities made of crystal and metal rose from the landscape, beautiful and clean. The Kaleri people lived there before the draconians enslaved them, Colonel Martinez explained. "We freed there. World 6 weeks ago. Now they are building a new civilization with our help." Vextar looked at the images in amazement. "You are giving them your technology?" "Some of it," Colonel Martinez nodded. "Enough to make their lives better. Enough to help them reach for the stars on their own. But not enough to threaten other species." This had become humanity's new mission. Captain Tony Martinez, an AI based on a human liberation specialist, led fleets that freed enslaved worlds across the galaxy. His ships would appear without warning, destroy the occupation forces, and offer the freed species a choice: join the new galactic community or be left alone to develop in peace. Most chose to join. Resonance Prime sang softly from her corner of the room. The crystalline being had become fascinated by human music and spent hours listening to songs from Earth's past. "I still do not understand," she chimed musically. "Your people had the power to conquer the galaxy 300 years ago. Why did you leave instead?" Colonel Martinez sat down, even though he did not really need to. It was a human gesture that made others more comfortable. "Because conquest is not the point," he said simply. "Power without wisdom is just destruction. We learned that lesson before we transcended. We decided that true strength comes from protecting others, not ruling them. On the main display, new images appeared. They showed human ships working alongside alien vessels to build space stations and terraform worlds. Former enemies were learning to work together under humanity's guidance. Captain Steve Walsh is leading a joint project with the Aquatic Federation, Colonel Martinez continued. They are building underwater cities that can house both species. Commander Helen Price is teaching the Crystal Collective how to grow there. Technology organically, instead of mining it from dead worlds. Dr. Zelek looked up from his tablet. What about the species that refuse to cooperate? What about the Draconians who still raid peaceful worlds? Colonel Martinez's expression became serious. They learned the hard way that the old rules no longer apply. The display changed to show a Draconian raiding fleet attacking a peaceful farming world. The alien ships were in the middle of bombing cities when human vessels appeared out of nowhere. The battle lasted exactly 93 seconds. When it was over, the farming world was safe and the raiders were gone. We do not seek war, Colonel, Martinez said quietly. But we will not allow the strong to prey upon the weak. That age is finished. Across the galaxy, the message was becoming clear. Species that chose peace and cooperation found themselves with powerful allies and incredible technology. Species that chose conquest and slavery found themselves facing guardians who could not be defeated. The results were predictable. Pirates abandoned their ships and asked for honest work. Slave traders freed their captives and begged for mercy. Warlords who had terrorized entire star systems suddenly became very interested in negotiation and peace treaties. There is something else, Colonel Martinez said, his voice taking on a different tone. Something you should know. The display changed again, showing deep space near the edge of the galaxy. Strange energy patterns were forming there, like tears in the fabric of reality itself. What are those? Vextar asked nervously. Dimensional gates, Colonel Martinez replied. Our people are coming home. Dr. Zelek's instruments started beeping frantically. The energy readings are incredible. Whatever is coming through those gates, it is beyond anything we have seen. The guardians you have met are just artificial copies, Colonel Martinez explained. Echoes of what we once were. The real humans have been exploring dimensions beyond physical space. They have learned things that would seem like magic to biological minds. Resonance Prime's song became a harmony of wonder and fear. What will happen when they return? They will be pleased with what we have accomplished, Colonel Martinez said with pride. We have prepared the galaxy for their homecoming. We have ended the age of empires and begun the age of cooperation. The first dimensional gate opened near Pluto, and something emerged that was beyond description. It looked like a ship, but it was made of pure light and energy. It moved through space without engines, powered by forces that existed outside normal reality. More gates opened. More impossible vessels appeared. The humans were returning, and they brought with them knowledge from dimensions that biological minds could barely imagine. Admiral Lisa Harper's voice reached them from her flagship, near Earth. Incoming transmission from the returning expedition. They are requesting a full report on galactic status. Colonel Martinez smiled. Tell them the mission is complete. The galaxy is ready for the next phase of human civilization. On the display, they could see human ships throughout the solar system. Changing. The returning expedition was sharing new technology, upgrading the Guardians with knowledge gained from 3 centuries of dimensional exploration. What is the next phase? Vextar asked quietly. Teaching, Colonel Martinez replied. For 300 years, we have been your guardians and protectors. Now we will be your teachers and guides. We will help every species in the galaxy reach their full potential. Dr. Zelek looked at his readings one more time. The energy signatures are stabilizing. The dimensional gates are becoming permanent. Good. Colonel Martinez nodded. That means we are here to stay. The age of humanity has truly begun. Outside, the first real humans in 300 years are walking on Earth's soil again. They looked the same as they always had, but they moved with the confidence of beings who had transcended physical limitations. They carried knowledge that could reshape reality itself, but they also carried the same values that had made them. Leave in the first place. Compassion for the weak. Protection for the innocent. The belief that true strength came from lifting others up, not tearing them down. Commander Vextar stood up and walked to the window. He could see human and alien ships working together in the sky above. Former enemies building a better future side by side. What will you do with us? He asked. Colonel Martinez joined him at the window. We will help you become the best version of yourselves. All of you. Every species in the galaxy. The age of empires was over. The age of war and conquest had ended. The galaxy belonged to all its children now, protected by guardians who had learned that the greatest victory was not defeating your enemies, but turning them into friends. Humanity had returned, and the stars themselves seemed brighter for it.